But the last time you saw Steph Diggs was when he was assaulting you, you said.
That wasn't the last time I saw Steph Diggs. I said it here that I walked in his room after the assault before I was leaving to give him his birthday gift.
That's right.
Yes.
Okay. You gave him a birthday gift after the assault happened.
The assault, the Commonwealth just described in their opening statement in only a few sentences. It never happened. Did not happen.
And you testified about a text exchange you had with him at around 12:30 on December 2nd, where you called him a pussy, right?
Yes.
Right now, your main job is to listen. Why did you delete those phrases when you provided those text messages to the Dedham police?
Because when I was abused in my previous relationship, when I would say things,
the objection is sustained.
he would...
The objection is sustained. There's no question there. Again, the jury will disregard it.
Right now, your main job is to listen.
I deleted messages because making the report to the police in my previous abusive relationship,
Sam,
I'm telling you why.
stop.
That's right.
Yes.
Okay. You gave him a birthday gift after the assault happened. The story that you just told to this jury under oath was very different from what you told to Officer Ellis. Do you agree with me?
Yes. I'm telling you why.
Stop.
We're ready to proceed, Judge.
Ready to bring the jury in. All set?
Yeah, sure.
Good morning. My name is Drew Virtue. I introduced myself earlier when we had a larger group, but now that it's a smaller group, I just wanted to reintroduce myself again. To give you some room to stand on here of parties and what they're doing. My name is Drew Virtue. I'm the prosecutor, meaning I'm going to be presenting evidence supporting the defendant's guilt. Defense counsel will be representing their client. We'll have the clerk here, whose job it is to create a complete record of this case, both for the recording as well as writing things down when need be. The court officers who are up and about are here to make sure that we're safe, as well as help people kind of figure out where they need to go. The judge's job is to, kind of clunky term from law school, be the master of the law. And that leaves you guys, which equally clunky term for the jury is the master of the facts. It's the idea that it's your job, it's your exclusive job, your special job to determine the facts at stake that we're talking about, what actually happened. And this is concerning about what happened on December 2nd of 2025. Now, you're going to have an opportunity to hear from some witnesses. You're going to have an opportunity to hear from Ms. Mila Adams. She'll tell you about her career as a private chef. She'll tell you how she came to know the defendant, about how she came to be working as a chef for him. She'll tell you about her experience working for Mr. Diggs. I expect she'll tell you about a disagreement she had with some members of his staff. And then I expect that she'll tell you about what happened on December 2nd. And I remind you, it's your job here today to determine what happened on December 2nd. I expect Ms. Mila Adams, when she takes that stand, she'll tell you how she was texting with the defendant, her boss, Mr. Diggs. That on that text they started arguing, they started name-calling. I expect she'll tell you how she was in her bedroom at his house, how he entered her bedroom, walked up to her, and slapped her. I expect she's going to tell you how he put her in a headlock, the difficulty she had breathing, that he threw her on the bed, and then he left. I expect she's going to tell you then how that affected her, what she did after her, how she continued working for him afterwards, how she had a dispute with him over a payment, how his staff told her that she needed to sign a nondisclosure agreement to get paid. I expect she'll tell you that it wasn't until after this incident in December 2nd that anyone talked to her about a nondisclosure agreement. I expect for her to tell you how she eventually left that job as a chef, Mr. Diggs, and how she eventually reported what happened to her to the police. You also have an opportunity to hear from an officer from the Dedham Police, one Kenneth Ellis. He'll tell you about his training that he undertook in order to become an officer and how on December the 16th, Ms. Mila Adams came to the Dedham Police Station to talk to the police. He'll be able to tell you a bit about that encounter, what he saw, a little bit about that conversation, and ultimately how he chose to, how charges were filed against Mr. Diggs. Now, in this case, Mr. Diggs has no obligation to call any witnesses. He may choose not to call any witnesses, and you cannot hold that against him. But in the event that he does call witnesses, I ask that you give his witnesses the same care, the same attention, and the same scrutiny that you give to the Commonwealth's witnesses. It's part of your job as jurors, as the master of the facts, to listen to every witness, to pay attention, and to assess their credibility. In doing so, I ask that you keep two things in mind. One, what the witness had an opportunity to see or not to see. Whether the witness had an actual opportunity to witness the crime or just saw things in and around it. And two, what sort of financial relationship each witness had to Mr. Diggs. I imagine the defense may argue that Ms. Adams' financial dispute with Mr. Diggs is an important part of this case, and I'd say it is an important part of this case. But just in the same way that her financial relationship to Mr. Diggs is important, so is all the witnesses' financial relationship to Mr. Diggs. Now, at the conclusion of evidence, I'll have an opportunity to come back to you again. During that time, closing arguments, I'll ask you to come to a decision based on the evidence you heard. But right now, what I'm asking you is to not come to any decisions. Right now, your main job is to listen. It's to pay attention, to give every bit of evidence the attention and the scrutiny it deserves. And when I say every bit of evidence, I do mean every bit of evidence, because in cases like this, every bit of evidence is important. Thank you.
Good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen. The assault the Commonwealth just described in their opening statement in only a few sentences. It never happened. Did not happen. There was no strangulation. There was no assault. There was no incident on December 2nd or any other day. There were 6 people in Mr. Diggs' home on December 2nd, and not one heard or saw anything out of the ordinary. The Commonwealth has no physical evidence. There are no medical records. There are no photos or videos showing any injuries. There are videos showing no injuries at all. Pay attention to where those came from. On December 16th, as the Commonwealth just said, Ms. Adams went to the police, and you will learn that after that, on the very day the complaint issued in this case, December 29th, demands for money from Mr. Diggs began coming from Ms. Adams' agents. Starting the end of December on the 29th with over $19,000, and then most recent being a sum for quite a bit more. My name, again, is Andrew Kettlewell, and with my partner, Ms. Silva, we represent Stefon Diggs, who I'm actually going to ask to stand up for a moment. Mr. Diggs is a 33-year-old professional football player and businessman. He played for the New England Patriots last year. He's from Maryland. He's joined here with his mother. Thank you. You're going to learn, ladies and gentlemen, that December 2nd, 2025 was a day like any other for Stefon Diggs. He was in a good mood. The Patriots had played the night before. They'd won. He played well. He was going to head into work on December 2nd, just like any other day after a game, for treatment, film review, team meetings. And that night, on December 2nd, 2025, he and his closest friends were scheduled to fly to Miami, Florida. That was for the 1 week off he had during the season, the 1 week of vacation. It's called the bye week. During that day, after he went to work, friends began arriving at his house, folks who were also joining him on the trip to Miami. There were other people in his house. One of those people who I expect you're going to hear from is his assistant, Janelle Salas. You'll hear people refer to her as Sunny. You're going to hear from Miss Salas that for the entire afternoon, she was in Mr. Diggs' home in Dedham on Schoolmaster Street, sitting in the kind of main area, living room, kitchen area, watching people come and go. And she was getting things ready for the trip that night. Miss Adams, you're going to hear, was also in that house. She lived and worked in that house as Mr. Diggs' chef for the regular season. And that was from July 2025 to December 2025. That morning, Miss Adams was not happy. Instead, she was quietly seething about being left off that trip to Miami. I mentioned they were going to Miami that night and that Mr. Diggs is a businessman. In Miami, you're going to hear that there was an art show where a furniture line he collaborated with a person on was being displayed. But also in Miami, you're going to hear that Mr. Diggs had a birthday party. He had just turned 33, and that there was a week's worth of fun. And Miss Adams initially was expected to be on the trip, but she had been left off. And she'd been left off because she'd spent the previous several days feuding with that business partner from the furniture line who was in Miami. And that person's name is Lindsay. I'm going to get back to that in one moment. But why was Miss Adams so frustrated that morning? Why was she so upset about Mr. Diggs taking this Lindsay's side in a feud over hers? It's because Miss Adams wasn't just a chef. She had known Mr. Diggs for years previous to ever working for him. They had been friends, and at times they'd been friends with benefits. That relationship had led to Miss Adams getting the job to cook for Mr. Diggs. She got to live in the house. She went to games. She sat with the owners of an NFL team, went to parties. She was paid $2,000 a week in reimbursement for what she claimed she spent on groceries. And she had plenty of opportunity to talk to Mr. Diggs about trying to get him to invest in her to open her dream restaurant. As that season wore on, her place in Mr. Diggs' circle began to slip, and things came to a head in late November when that issue that I just mentioned, the feud between her and this person named Lindsay, popped up. That feud, it's about an anonymous blog post that was posted on the internet. Lindsay said that Miss Adams posted it. Miss Adams said Lindsay was the problem. The blog, the drama, all of that, it's not important to this case. What is important is that by December 2nd, 2025, Miss Adams was furious. She was upset about being left off the trip. She was upset about Mr. Diggs taking Lindsay's side over her in that argument. And so while he was at work, she was at the house. And you will see the text messages, I expect, that she sent to him that morning. You'll see her frustration boiled over. A quick word about those text messages. I expect you're going to see most, if not all, of these messages. And there's some language in there that is not typically courtroom appropriate. There's cursing, there's slang. The one thing I ask of you is that you don't let the way that the messages, the two parties in the messages communicated with one another, interfere with your ability to understand the content and to understand their importance. Because you're going to see what that exchange was about. You're going to see it was about this dispute, about Miss Adams being left off the Miami trip, and about Mr. Diggs picking somebody else's side over her. And you're going to hear why that's important. Because as I said, Miss Adams went to the Dedham Police Department on December 16th. And she made her report. And she told them the argument on December 2nd was about money. She told them that's what the fight was about over text and in real life, and that's how things got out of hand. She didn't mention Miami. Listen to what else she didn't mention. And 2 days later, she sent the Dedham Police Department a screenshot of the text messages she said, and you just heard the Commonwealth say, led into that fight. Led over the phone to Mr. Diggs, coming into her room and committing this offense. And you're going to see those messages that she sent to the Dedham police. And I expect that what the evidence is going to show you after you've seen those, after you've seen all the messages that she did not show to the Dedham police, the evidence is going to show you that she curated the messages. She omitted some, she removed other messages before she sent them to the Dedham police to fit her narrative. By the way, on December 2nd, she indicated to the police as well that she had not been paid for November. You're going to hear a little bit about her payment and about her paperwork, and we'll get to that in one moment. A few of the people who you're going to hear from in this trial, many of them do work or have been associated with Mr. Diggs. Sonny, his assistant, is one of the witnesses you're going to hear from. I indicated to you she was inside the home that day, sitting in the living room, watching people come and go, doing her job like normal. She personally spoke to Miss Adams throughout that day, and she'll tell you what she observed. You're going to hear from other folks who talked or texted with Miss Adams that day as well. You're going to learn that Mr. Diggs had a scheduled day. He was at work in Foxborough, and even after he got back from work, he had a set schedule. He had an IV treatment for 1 hour and a 2-hour massage that followed. Following that, as I said, they were getting on the airplane and they were flying to Miami. As for Miss Adams, what you'll hear is that there was nothing out of the ordinary. She was normal. She cooked dinner for Mr. Diggs on December 2nd. She chatted on the phone and spent the afternoon and early evening in the house. And that night, she flew to New York City to spend her week off with friends. Now, I've said normal a few times already in this case. Let me pause and tell you what normal was like in the Diggs house. Mr. Diggs is a highly regarded professional athlete. He owns a clothing line, a furniture line that I've already mentioned, and other businesses. And he's a public figure. He has a coterie of family, friends, and staff around him at all times. Good professional athletes are paid very well in this country, and Mr. Diggs is very good at his job. He has the means to support his friends, family, and staff, and he takes good care of his people. You're going to hear that on December 2nd, he was taking his entire entourage on an airplane down to Miami and putting them up for weeks' worth of events and parties, and that wasn't even out of the ordinary. So normal in the Mr. Diggs house is a little bit different from normal in your house or mine. But just like any other person in this country, rich or poor, Mr. Diggs sits here an innocent man. And any preconceptions or feelings you have about athletes, wealth, or anything else, you have to put aside and not let interfere with the oath you just took as jurors. So we've talked about December 2nd because that's the day Miss Adams claimed this incident occurred. You're going to hear about other days as well. You'll hear a little bit, like I said, about that November blog incident because it led up to the text exchange on December 2nd. The text exchange, the Commonwealth just told you, led into this physical assault that Miss Adams claims occurred. You also heard a moment ago that she flew to New York City that night. And I expect that you're going to hear from the people she stayed with in New York City. Their names are Shy Charles and Natalia Moses. They're both hairstylists who live in New York City, and you're going to see videos from Miss Adams' trip to New York City. Videos recorded only hours after she had landed, hours after this alleged incident had occurred. Videos from later that week, the next day, and a few days after that. And when you hear about those videos, ask yourself, what am I seeing? Where did the information come from? And what can it tell me? Ask yourself whether what is depicted on those videos is consistent with the Commonwealth's theory that Miss Adams was brutally assaulted by a professional athlete in her bedroom on December 2nd. Ask yourself, what would you expect to see from what the Commonwealth just described in a person's demeanor and physically on their body? There's an old axiom that the simplest answer that accounts for all the facts, that is the true answer. See if the Commonwealth theory accounts for all of the evidence that you're going to get to see over the next day and a half. One other thing that you are going to hear, the Commonwealth mentioned it briefly for a moment there, was that Miss Adams returned to the house in Dedham. You're going to learn that happened on December 9th, 1 week after she went to New York City. One thing you will learn about that return is that on December 16th, she told the police that she was only going there to pack her things. The evidence will show you that that was not true. She actually went back to work just like nothing had happened. Pay very close attention to the details surrounding her return on December 9th. How she got there, what she was doing, what happened after she got back to the house in the middle of the night at about 11:30 p.m. and walked in unaccompanied. Listen for those details about what she did then and what happened after, and ask yourself whether it tends to corroborate the story the Commonwealth just told you, that she was violently assaulted and strangled on December 2nd, or whether it instead suggests that nothing happened on December 2nd. As I said, after Miss Adams got back to work on December 9th, she tried to pretend that things were fine. She tried to get back in Mr. Diggs' good graces to get him to forget about the text exchange back on December 2nd. But the damage, the argument they had on December 2nd was done, and she couldn't get back into his good graces. And even worse, she was now coming back, even going to have to comply with the same rules that applied to everybody else. The Commonwealth already mentioned one of those. You're going to hear from Melissa Goddard, one of Mr. Diggs' bookkeepers who came up from Florida. She's going to tell you that she took over responsibility for Miss Adams' payment that fall, and that she found, because Miss Adams had had this previous relationship with Mr. Diggs, that she had never been onboarded as a normal contractor. She had never filled out any normal paperwork. And she told the assistant Sonny and Miss Adams that they needed to follow the normal procedures. Miss Adams needed to sign proper paperwork, including signing an NDA just like anybody else. And she needed to submit actual receipts for reimbursements, just like everybody else. And you're going to see that Miss Adams ignored those requests until she couldn't anymore. And that happened around December 13th. On December 13th, you're going to learn Miss Adams got an email about that paperwork, and she got upset. She got mad again, and there was another barrage of angry text messages to Mr. Diggs. And this time, she wound up getting herself fired for good. I expect that you're going to end up seeing those messages as well. Messages the police weren't told about, because the police weren't told she went back to work after December 9th. This time, some of those messages actually were about money, but also still the same Lindsay blog post issue of Mr. Diggs picking someone over her. The end of this exchange on December 13th was more specific than December 2nd. Mr. Diggs sent $2,000 via Apple Pay that Ms. Adams claimed she owed and told her she did not need to worry about cooking for him anymore. She was out. And this time, she knew there was no getting back in. And listen to what happened when you hear the evidence after that, after December 13th. 3 days later, as you've already heard, Miss Adams went to the police. She didn't tell them about December 13th or that she'd been fired. Instead, she told them a made-up story. She was furious, and she wanted Mr. Diggs to pay in every sense of that word. And what you will hear is that her demands for money, as I said, began on December 29th, the same day the criminal complaint issued in this case. You will also hear that as this case has gone on and public pressure has grown, that number has only gone up. And I will let her tell you what number she is now demanding from Mr. Diggs. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Diggs sits here an innocent man. That's the beauty of the American justice system. You heard a little bit about the way a trial works. You heard that the burden is entirely on the Commonwealth to prove its case. Their burden, proof beyond a reasonable doubt, that's the highest burden in our system. And as Mr. Virtue mentioned, Mr. Diggs has no burden whatsoever. One thing Mr. Virtue and I agree on, be skeptical with every witness. And financial incentives certainly do play a role in this case. We will call witnesses. We do so to give you the fullest possible picture of what happened and what did not happen on December 2nd, to give you the clearest picture of the truth. But that does not mean that we have to prove a single thing. The Commonwealth bears the burden, and the burden never shifts. That's how our system works. That's the beauty of it. That when an innocent person like Mr. Diggs is charged with a crime they didn't commit, what can they do? They can do this. They look the Commonwealth right in the eye and they say, prove it. And that's exactly what Mr. Diggs has done. That's why you are here, ladies and gentlemen. That's what a trial is. Mr. Diggs has chosen to place his fate in your hands. You, ladies and gentlemen, are the most important part of our system. I thank you, and Mr. Diggs thanks you for being here and for your service. You are the only people who can and who must hold the government to its burden. And the way you do that, it's not fancy. It's by using your common sense, your life experience, tools you use every day of your life to weigh credibility and to make decisions. And our system depends on that. You are the judges of credibility. And so I ask that you listen carefully, you should keep your full attention while you're here, and that you remember that the simplest answer that accounts for all the facts is the true answer. One of the worst things that a person can go through is to be charged with a crime that they didn't commit, especially in a situation like this one, where the charge hinges entirely on the word of a single person, and that person has millions of reasons to lie. So let's have a trial. And at the end of it, at the end of all the evidence, after you have heard it, I'm going to have the opportunity to come back and discuss the evidence as well. And at that time, I'm going to ask you to deliver what I expect will be the only true and just verdict in this case. And I can tell you right now that that will be to find Stefon Diggs not guilty. Thank you.
Your Honor, the Commonwealth called Mila Adams.
If you remain standing, you're going to face the court.
Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
May I inquire?
You may.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Jamila, Jamila, Adams, Adams.
And do you normally go by Jamila or?
I go by Mila.
Mila, okay. And what do you do for a living?
I am a professional chef. I have been working in the industry for 13 years.
So you're a professional chef. Do you work in kitchens and?
I work privately for athletes, prominent figures, and wealthy families.
So you're a private. Is there a difference between a private chef and personal chef? Are those the same things, or?
It's pretty much the same thing.
And how long did you say you've been a private chef?
13 years.
13 years. And what sort of training did you take to become a chef?
I went to school for clinical psychology, so I have a degree in psychology. But I followed my passion in cooking because I grew up in the South and we cook. So I did some training in France and also Italy.
And kind of very generally, what does a private chef do?
We provide daily meals for our clients. So that would be breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. It's typically a live-in situation. So readily available to them, kind of like 24 hours a day. So I would say it's based on clients' needs. So
And
each client would, whatever your health goals were or health issues were, I will help you get better.
so you mentioned a little bit about client, but what kind of clientele have you worked for?
Athletes, entertainers,
And without naming names, what kind of athletes or entertainers do you mean?
singers, football players, basketball players, baseball players,
And are these professionals?
very professional.
How much do you make in that job?
It ranges, depending on the needs they need from me. If it's a full-time live-in, it can range from anywhere $5,300 a week to $10,000.
Turning your attention now to a Mr. Stefon Diggs. Do you know Mr. Stefon Diggs?
Yes.
And how do you know him?
I've known Stefon Diggs for over 4.5 years.
And how'd you meet him?
We met in December 22 through an Instagram message. He first wanted me to cook for him.
And do you see him in the courtroom today?
Yes.
And could you identify him through? I see you're pointing at someone, but could you describe him just because we have to have everything on the record? You describe him either clothing he's wearing or hairstyle, anything like that?
A blue shirt and blue tie and blue suit.
Your Honor, may the record reflect that this witness has identified the defendant as Mr. Stefon Diggs?
It will reflect the identification of the defendant.
Thank you. Over those 4 or so years, how would you characterize your relationship with Mr. Diggs?
I would say it's complicated. We It started out as friends. We met. It started out as friends, became sexual, and we would meet up, hang out, and we decided I would come work for him like February of 2025.
You said February 2025, you and he talked about you working for him,
Yes.
and that's as a private chef?
Yes.
What were the sort of terms of your employment? Like were you going to be living with him?
Yes.
And how many meals or what was it like working for him?
Can you say that again?
Yeah, yes. So as far as your employment goes, what were your duties working as a Mr. Diggs private chef?
My duties were to make all his meals, his snacks, and basically get him healthy. That was the start of our initially hiring me. He was coming back. It was his comeback year. And I wanted to help him get healthy, to eat better, to...
So how does it, do you create a menu? Does he just tell you what he wants?
I'm skilled with recovery. So I knew what it would take to get him, help him get healthy and stay healthy, to help him change his diet. So it was more so like diet change would be the focus and just overall health.
And did you, would you cook just for him or for other people as well?
Yes, I will cook for whoever was in the house.
And I know you mentioned earlier your breakfast. Is that the sort of standard? Was it every day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then?
Yes, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks.
And how much did you get paid for this?
We agreed on $2,000 a week.
And how did you get paid?
Finance office would pay me.
So you said that you, while this was staying in his house, right?
Yes.
Where was this house?
7 Schoolmasters Lane.
In what town?
Dedham.
And could you describe this house? What was it? It was a single family home?
What do you mean by that?
What was it? Was it an apartment? Was it?
No, it was a single family home's house.
And how many floors was it?
Basement, middle floor, a landing, and then top floor. So 3 floors.
And so where was the kitchen?
The kitchen was downstairs on the floor you come into the house on. So the first floor, I would call it.
And that's where you did your chefing, cooking, baking. I don't know.
Yes, where I did my cooking.
Yes.
Yes.
And where did you stay in that house?
I stayed on the top floor.
And where was it in the house?
It was up the landing all the way to the back, and it was over the kitchen.
And was this a single bedroom that you had? Was it a suite? What was it?
A single bedroom with a full bathroom.
With a full bathroom. Was the bathroom off of the bedroom?
It's the bedroom, and then you walk back into the bathroom.
So
it was in my room.
Okay, so the entrance to the bathroom wasn't in the hallway; it was in the bedroom.
Yes.
Okay. And where was Mr. Diggs? Where was his bedroom?
Up the first landing.
Okay, so you said that there was the floor you come in on, a landing, and then
Mr. Diggs' room.
Mr. Diggs was on the landing?
Yes.
Okay. How long were you there in that house?
From July 2025, July 20th, 21st. I can't remember the exact date right now. To December the 15th.
And during that time, who was at the house with you?
Mr. Diggs, his friends.
Did he have other staff that lived there, or was it just?
No, I was just living there. He had friends that basically lived there.
Okay. And while you were living there, was it a kind of regular schedule or thing? How did that work?
Yes, he gets a different schedule by the week, but it would change by the day sometime. Sometime he would have to go in later or earlier. So I will often ask at night what time you have to be at work, so I can have breakfast prepared for him to take to work.
Turning your attention now to November. Around November, did any sort of friction occur between members of his staff?
Yes.
And what was that?
Friction. Say that again.
Friction
Friction.
Was there any sort of maybe I should say this. What, if anything, happened near the end of November?
Yes. Instagram DM message was sent to his child's mother's friend. And this message was stating that I was telling his personal business of women that he was sleeping with that worked with us, that worked with me. And yeah.
And so,
as far as I can remember what that message said.
And
so
how did this create friction within the people working for Mr. Diggs?
I was confronted by Mr. Diggs if I said these things. But it had already been Mr. Diggs had a ongoing sexual relationship with Lindsay Bolin, and this person, she didn't like me. That fact that I was in the house.
So you mentioned Lindsay Bolin. Who's that person?
Lindsay Bolin, it works for Mr. Diggs.
And how? What does she do?
I can't quite answer that. I just know he provides housing, pays her rent. I don't know. Yeah, she works for him. I don't know.
And so, did you and Lindsay get into any sort of argument, or you mean? Or?
We didn't get in. We got in an argument after Mr. Diggs confronted me. She sent me a message first, per his instruction, and called me a name, excuse my language, you guys, a bitch. And she just went on and on and on in this message about me.
Objection, Your Honor. May we be heard at sidebar?
Yeah.
At some point, were members of Mr. Diggs' staff going to go down to a trip to Miami?
The whole staff was supposed to go to Miami, yes.
And you said the whole staff.
I wasn't finished on that last question you asked.
That's fine, but I'm asking questions now.
Okay.
So at some point, members of his staff were supposed to go down to Miami, right?
Yes.
When you said the whole staff, how many people was this?
His assistant, myself, and his friends. It wasn't staff.
And did you end up going down to Miami?
No.
And why is that?
Mr. Diggs told me that I couldn't go because me and her had an issue from November 26th issue.
Your Honor, maybe?
Yes. All right, jurors, at this point, we are approaching the luncheon recess, so I am going to release you to the lunch break. We will resume in about an hour, just about 5:02. I want to remind you that you are not to discuss this case with anyone, not on social media, not even amongst yourselves, no family, friends, nothing about this case is to be discussed while this matter is still pending here. And I've instructed you earlier in the morning about that, and just want to remind you as well now. And you should have your lunch waiting for you. All right.
All right, jurors can step down this way, please.
Counsel, are there any issues that we need to address before I discharge the group, or is everything all set? Anything that's come up from this morning?
I don't think
I don't think so, Your Honor.
You had mentioned that you had certain exhibits that you had agreed that were going to be pre-marked. Is that right?
I believe so, yes.
Yes.
Have those been provided to Mr. Clerk? So perhaps we could just make sure that's all in order so that when you resume, if
Yes.
you're going to be referring to them, that the record is clear. Okay. All right, thank you. With that, we'll resume in about an hour.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Court, all rise. Court stands in a luncheon recess.
All right, I think we're ready for the jurors. Thank you. All right, Ms. Adams, before you proceed, I'm going to ask you to do your best as you testify to keep your voice up. All right, we need to make sure that the person in the last row of the courtroom can hear you even. All right?
Yes.
Thank you. Commonwealth, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Adams, can I now turn your attention towards the date of December 2nd?
Yes.
Were you still employed by Mr. Diggs at this time?
Yes.
And where were you on December 2nd?
I was in the house, 7 Schoolmasters Lane.
Gotcha. And that day, what were you doing that day?
I woke up in the morning, prepared breakfast. Mr. Diggs came downstairs. He asked me what was I doing for the week. And I asked him, oh, so you weren't going to tell me that I wasn't able to come to Art Basel? And he explained why. And it was because of the situation with me and the other coworker, Lindsay Bolin. And I was upset with him, not upset at the fact I couldn't go to Art Basel. Me and him have a relationship for over 4.5 years. He could have told me weeks ahead of time because me and his girlfriend, Cardi B, we were talking about having like outfits and stuff. It was like a whole thing being planned, and he just waited till the last day. So I was more upset with him not letting me know I wasn't going to come like at an earlier time.
And at some point during this day, were you alone in your bedroom?
Yes.
And do you know around when this was?
It was in around 3 afternoon, 3-ish up.
When you're in your bedroom by yourself, what, if anything, were you doing?
I was sitting on the bed, laying across the bed. I had my laptop, reading a cookbook, actually.
And were you communicating with any people at this point?
I received a text from Anna, was one of his friends.
Did you receive any text or send any text to Mr. Diggs?
No, the morning text. That was in the morning. We had went back and forth in morning text.
You had some previous texts in the morning?
Yes.
Let's go. You're in the bedroom. What happens next?
I was in the bedroom. Mr. Diggs came into my room. I was laying across the bed. He came into my room.
When you were in the bedroom, was the door closed?
Yes, the door was closed.
So when he came in, did he open the door?
Yes, he opened the door.
Did he leave it open after him?
No, he closed the door behind him.
And you said you were on the bed?
Yes, I was laying across the bed.
About how far away were you from the door?
About 4 or 5 feet, something like that.
So he comes in, closes the door behind him. What happens next?
He asked me to come here. He walked across the room and leaned back on the dresser.
Okay, and just to give a kind of a sense, where's the dresser in the room in relation to the door and?
Across the room, alongside the bathroom door.
Okay, so about how far away from the front door is the dresser?
8 feet. I don't know the amount. A nice amount of feet.
Okay, so some amount of distance from it. You said he leans against the dresser?
Yes.
Are you still on the bed at this point?
I'm still on the bed at this point.
What happens?
He comes in and he looks very angry. He was upset from the text exchange we were having. And in that text exchange, he was calling me bitches and he was just very upset.
But what happened in that room?
He came in and he with intent to hurt me.
No. What? Not his intent or anything. What actually happened?
He was leaning against the dresser. He asked me to get up to come here. I got up off the bed and I came across to him and I stood in front of him. I stood on the side of him because he was leaning back. I stood on the side of him and he was like, what was all that shit you was talking?
And then what happened?
And I was beginning to say, you said, and I couldn't finish my statement and he smacked me.
So when you say he smacked you...
He smacked me with an open hand.
Do you know which hand he used?
Right hand, right side of my face.
Do you know which part of your face got hit?
The right side of my face.
And I know you're putting your hand against your cheek. Is it your cheek that got hit?
It was my cheek that got hit.
About how far away from you were you from him when that happened?
I was at the end of the dresser.
And where was he?
He was on the, in front of me on the other side of the dresser.
So about how much space was in between you? Maybe
3 feet, 4 feet.
So you said that he smacked you. I want to use the word. Did you say smack or slap? I don't know what the word was.
Smack.
So he smacked you, yeah. And then what happened?
I went to try to block him, push him like this, stop him.
So again, I see you're pushing your hands out.
I pushed up. He's way taller than me. I pushed up for him.
How tall are you?
4'11", 5 feet.
And how tall is he? Do you know?
6 feet, 6'1".
So you said you pushed out and you made a motion with your hands. So does that mean you pushed with your hands?
Yes.
Around what, his stomach, his chest, his shoulders?
up to block his hands.
Okay. And then what happened?
And then he... Can I have a second?
Yes, you can.
You take a minute.
When I went up to push his hand, like block him, block him, he took his arm and he like came around my neck with the crook of his elbow around my neck, and he began to choke me, pressure on my neck with his elbow.
So you said you pushed against him, and then he put his arm around your neck.
Yes.
Do you know? Were you facing away from him?
I was facing him.
You were facing him. He put his arm around your neck.
Yes, he like spun me around.
He spun you around.
Yeah, like I will have to show you more so than I can describe it.
Describe it as best you can.
I was standing in front of him. When he slapped me, I went to like try to hit him back like this. And then it was like he tackled me, like got me to try to keep from pushing him or protecting myself. And he put his arm around my neck like this, and he choking me.
So you ended up in a position where his like forearm or bicep was around your neck.
Yes.
And you said he choked you. What exactly did he put pressure on your neck?
Yes, he put pressure on my neck.
And were you able to breathe?
At first, and it kept getting tighter and tighter.
So were you able to breathe?
No.
About how long were you in this position?
I would say roughly, I can't recall the amount of time. I just know it went from the edge where we were in front of the dresser to the side of the bed to him falling on top of me on the bed.
So about how far of a distance is that?
About maybe 4 or 5 feet, something like that, 5, 6 feet.
At some point, did he let you go?
Yeah, he let me go. When we got to the side of the bed, I was pushing back. I started to do a move that I saw off of social media. He said to me, that shit is not going to work.
So when you say you saw him, you tried to do
It was a defensive move where you try to put your hands underneath the person that's trying to choke you. It's like something I saw on a woman defensive page or something. And he said that shit you see on Instagram is not going to work. And that's when he got tighter. Like the more I was trying to put his hand, he got tighter.
And then what happened?
And then I was pushing back. And then he like fell down on top of me on the bed because I was on the side of the bed. And it was like, he was like letting me, like, I guess he was about to let me go. But as he was getting up, he like pulled my hair. And he was like, yeah, I thought so.
And then what happened?
He got up off of me, off the bed behind me, and he walked around the bed. I told him I still haven't got paid. He said lies. And he was like, so what are you doing? So what are you doing for the week? And I was like, I'm staying here. He said, I don't want anyone in my house. I don't want anyone here. I was like, okay, so who's going to get my ticket? He said, who always gets your ticket? And that's it. He walked out of the room.
So from the moment he entered the room to the moment he left, about how much time went by?
My last text to Anna was probably like 3:30 something. I text Sunny at 4:11, so it was between that time because I didn't have plans. I didn't have money to go anywhere to travel, I know.
I know, but just the question was about how long time.
It was just in between that time. I can't say exact, but I know it's before 4:11.
So is that 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 5 minutes?
He was in the room probably maybe 10 minutes, 15. I don't know. I'm sure. I remember.
When he left the room, what happened next?
I looked down at my pants. I had peed my pants, and I had just came off my cycle, and I was bleeding really bad again. I guess because I was so scared, I changed my pants, and I cleaned up myself, and I came back in the room. And that's when I texted Sunny To get my flight.
And where was that flight to?
Atlanta.
At some point, did you exit your? When you said you went to your bathroom, was that the bathroom that's connected to the bedroom, right?
Yes.
At some point, did you leave out your bedroom again?
I didn't leave out my bedroom till later in the afternoon.
But so at some point later on, you did. Do you know about how long you stayed there?
In my bedroom? A while, because I was trying to figure out what I was going to do.
But so at some point, though, that later on that day, you exited out of the bedroom?
Yes.
And what did you do next?
When I exited out of the bedroom?
Yeah.
While I was in my bedroom, I was packing my clothes to leave. I called another coworker, I would call her, and I just asked her, like, what she was doing. And she was like, I told her I wasn't able to go to Art Basel and that I was going home. And she was like, oh, you should come here. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I'll come there.
When she said here, what does that mean?
New York City. So I then proceeded to change my flight to go to New York.
Okay. And when was that flight going to be?
I just know I landed at 10:49. It was a later flight in the afternoon.
It's that day?
It's that day, yes.
Did you see Mr. Diggs anytime after that happened that day?
Yes.
And what was that like?
He was getting a massage, and I was leaving out. By the time I saw him, I was handing over birthday gifts that I had got.
So when you said you were handing out birthday gifts, who were you handing out birthday gifts
to him?
This is a gift that you had already purchased, or?
Yes, I normally give him a birthday gift every year.
When's his birthday?
November 28th.
Okay, so this was a little bit afterwards?
Yeah.
So at some point, did you leave this house?
Yes.
How did you leave to get to the airport?
A car, an Uber.
All right, and so an Uber came and picked you up and brought you to the airport?
Yes.
You went to New York. Was it New York City or New York State?
New York City.
Also New York City, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And who did you meet up in New York City?
I met up with Shy Charles. And she picked me up from the airport, and we went to pick up her friend, Natalia. And then we went to her ex-husband's house to pick up something or to do something she had to do. We were there, we ordered wings and watched a movie, watched some videos.
And did you tell anyone here about what had happened to you?
No, I didn't tell anyone there because they have their own interpersonal sexual relationship. So I wouldn't have never told her anything like that.
How long did you stay in New York?
I stayed in New York Tuesday to Tuesday, so 7 days the week.
And did you come back to Massachusetts?
Yes.
And did you come back to working for Mr. Diggs?
Yes.
At some point, and I know this was a little bit before, maybe a little bit afterwards, but at some point were you talking to Mr. Diggs about money you felt he owed you?
It was past wages.
Okay.
Yes.
When did you first bring that up with him?
During the week of Art Basel. I want to say maybe the 5th or 6th.
Of December?
Yes.
Okay. And so you felt that he owed you some money from wages that weren't paid. Is that what you're saying?
I wasn't paid for the time of the month. I hadn't been paid for the weeks that I put in at that time.
And who did you talk to Mr. Diggs directly, or did you talk to his finance people? Who did you talk to about this?
It was a chain of command. I would talk to his assistant. His assistant was under investigation for stealing watches and money. So I don't know if my thing...
Abstain. That portion of the answer will be stricken from the record, and the jurors will disregard it and will give it no consideration during your deliberations. Please answer the question asked. Commonwealth, next question.
Thank you, Your Honor. At some point, did someone from Mr. Diggs bring up a nondisclosure agreement?
Yes, Mr. Diggs likes to abuse people and try to hide his abuse.
That objection is sustained. That portion of the witness's answer will be stricken, and the jurors will disregard it during your deliberations. You are to give it no consideration and do not even raise it. Next question.
At some point, were you given some information about a non-disclosure agreement by someone who worked for Mr. Diggs?
Yes,
And when was this?
a couple days after the assault.
At some point, did you stop working for Mr. Diggs?
At what?
At some point, did you stop working for Mr. Diggs?
I didn't stop working for Mr. Diggs until my last day in the house, I would say, was the 16th. So yeah, some point.
So December 16th, okay. At some point, did you report any of this to the Dedham police?
Yes,
And when was that?
the Tuesday.
Do you know the actual day or just that it was a Tuesday?
I left on the 15th. I left his house on the 15th. I reported on the 16th.
Okay, so did you call the police? Did you go there in person? How did that happen?
I went there in person.
And what happened?
I was begging for my pay with Mr. Diggs, begging for days,
Objection, Your Honor.
and he refused to pay me.
Objection is sustained. That portion of the response will be stricken, and the jurors are not to consider it in your deliberations. Answer the question asked. Please phrase the question again.
At some point, you arrived to the Dedham police station.
Yes,
Did you speak to an officer?
yes, I did.
Did you tell the officer about what happened on December 2nd?
I was very hesitant at first because of his fame and power. So yes, but I
Objection,
did.
Your Honor. Move to strike.
The objection is sustained. That comment by the witness will be stricken from the record, and the jurors are to disregard it and not consider it in your deliberations.
At some point, did you tell the officer about what happened on December 2nd?
Yes, I did.
Did at any point you provide to the Dedham police text messages?
Yes,
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Approach this witness.
Yes.
Approaching of what was previously marked as Exhibit 1, I'm placing something in front of you. If you could take a look at that, and when you're done looking at that,
Reminder for the
look back up at me. Do you recognize what that is?
yes.
What is that?
It's a text message exchange between me and Mr. Diggs.
And is this the text message exchange that you provided to the Dedham police?
Yes. I deleted messages because making the report to the police in my previous abusive relationship, me,
Ma'am,
I'm telling you why.
stop. That part of the answer is stricken from the record, and the jurors will disregard it. Ma'am, please answer the question that is put to you.
Okay.
And if you don't understand it, you can have it restated for you. Counsel at sidebar, please.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Go right ahead. Thank you.
Turning your attention to what is marked as Exhibit 2, do you recognize what this is? You can look through it. There's more than one page.
I recognize it, but the messages is cut off.
There's I believe 3 pages to this. If you want to throw 4 pages, rather, if you want to flip through. Do you recognize this? What this is?
Yes.
And what is this?
This was in a text exchange
Between whom?
between me and Mr. Diggs.
And when was this text exchange from?
The morning into the noon, 12-2.
Of December 2nd?
Yes.
Is there a difference between the text messages that you provided to the Dedham police and the text messages that are here?
Yes.
And what is that difference?
I deleted vet and pussy, and I'm ruining that bitch life. Not mistaken. Yeah.
And why did you delete those phrases when you provided those text messages to the Dedham police?
Because when I was abused in my previous relationship, when I would say things,
The objection is sustained.
he would.
The objection is sustained. There's no question there. Again, the jurors will disregard it. Sidebar.
So the question was, why did you delete text messages when you provided them to the Dedham police?
The fear of how I'll be perceived.
Your Honor, may I approach also?
Yes.
Approaching now with, I may direct your attention to what is marked as Exhibit 3. Do you mind looking through this? It's a number of pages. And when you kind of have looked at it a little bit, you can look back up at me.
I'm reading all of them or just that first page?
Have you read a few of those? Well, let me say, from what you've seen, do you recognize what these seem to be?
Yes.
And what are these?
Text messages about the...
Do you know who the text messages are between?
Yes, between me and Mr. Diggs.
And do you know when these text messages are from?
12/2. Yeah, 12/2.
So were those text messages that were going on between you and that morning of that day?
Yes.
And if I can ask you to maybe go to the third last page on this
In this whole thing?
of this section. Or if I'm, Your Honor, may I approach and
Yes.
Yes.
so on the top page, there's a text that says "pussy," right?
Yes,
Who sent that?
I did.
And how did Mr. Diggs respond?
Show me I'm pussy.
And how did you respond?
Will do.
And were those the last text messages sent before Mr. Diggs hit you?
Yes, if I'm not mistaken.
Your Honor, may I approach once more?
Yes.
Bringing your attention now to what was marked Exhibit 4. Could you look through a few of these? Do you recognize what these are?
Yes,
And what are these?
these are messages that I sent him asking to be paid.
And do you know when around these were from?
It was a couple days after. They were in Art Basel, 12/5 it says. Yeah, I know I was begging for my money for a while.
Just, I think, final questions. When he was in the room, when he slapped you, when he put you in a headlock, was there anyone else in the room but you two?
Just us two.
And were there other people in the house?
Yes,
Do you know where they were in the house?
downstairs, if I'm not mistaken.
And you said you went to New York and you met with a Shy. Is it Shy? Charles?
Yeah,
How did you know Shy Charles?
she works for him.
Okay, so
She braids his hair.
has she known you longer or him longer?
Him longer.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Adams, today is not the first day you've told the story of what you say happened on December 2nd, true?
True.
The first time you told the story was on December 16th, right?
Yes.
And that was to Officer Ellis of the Dedham Police Department, right?
Yes.
And you sat with Officer Ellis, right?
Yes.
And you told him your story,
Yes.
and he took notes of what you were saying,
Yes.
because what you were saying was important to issuing a criminal complaint, right?
Objection.
Overruled.
I don't know what a criminal complaint is. I was making a report. I don't know.
You were making a report to the police
Yes.
about what you said was a violent assault, correct?
Yes.
And your purpose in making a report to the police about a violent assault was to start a criminal case.
No. I made a criminal report to have a report to document it.
So documentation was important to you, right?
Yes.
The story that you just told to this jury under oath was very different from what you told to Officer Ellis. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
What you said to Officer Ellis when you reported this crime, this so-called crime, is that you had been having an ongoing text exchange over money owed to you.
Yes.
You told the police officer who filed the criminal complaint in this case based on your word that your fight with Mr. Diggs on December 2nd was over money. True?
Yes.
Except you just testified under oath to this jury that you didn't start talking about money until December 5th, right?
What did you say?
You just testified under oath to this jury.
I have been begging for my money since December the 5th. Mr. Diggs, and throughout those messages, you can see that I was begging for my money since that day.
Which message? Are you talking about Exhibit 3 that you just looked at?
It's other messages that you guys should have of me begging for my money from Mr. Diggs.
Ms. Adams.
Yes.
Do you recall testifying under oath to this jury that your fight on December 2nd was about Lindsay, your anger at Lindsay, and you being told you couldn't go on the Miami trip?
My anger was at Stefon. I never said my anger was at Lindsay.
You were angry at Stefon on December 2nd?
Yes.
Because you were told you couldn't go on
I was
Miami.
angry at Stefon because we were friends. And he told me at the last minute I could not go to Art Basel.
And yet when you walked into the police station on December 16th, you said you had been having an ongoing text exchange over money owed to you.
Yes, money owed to me after I asked Mr. Diggs on December the 2nd, when can I get paid?
Your Honor, may I approach?
Your Honor, we've seen it sidebar just briefly.
Yes.
May I approach? Show you the document. Do you recognize that document that I've shown you as the police report that was prepared based on your statements on December 16th?
Yes.
You've seen this report before.
Yes, I made it.
And you see on the report where it says, she said that on this date, the male that she worked for entered her unlocked bedroom. They had been having an ongoing text exchange over money owed to Adams. She said that they began to discuss this, which apparently angered the male.
I did not.
Question pending yet.
Oh,
do you see that language?
Yeah.
Did you say that to Police Officer Ellis on December 16th?
Yes, I see it.
And that wasn't true, was it?
To my recollection, it was true. We did discuss money and payment.
Ms. Adams, you just testified under oath about what happened on December 2nd.
Okay, I also didn't put in a police report our sexual relationship because I was ashamed. The police report got leaked. I didn't put a lot of things. The most important thing was the attack in the police report. Me reporting anything outside of why he got upset, I didn't feel the need to put it. I was scared of how it was received by the public. He's in a very public relationship with Cardi B. So I did not put a lot of things in the police report. My most important thing was him assaulting me and choking me and slapping. So that was the most important thing that I put in the police report. I was very vague. I didn't feel the need that I had to go and explain the relationship.
When you were asked questions, you actually gave...
I didn't feel...
You must wait until I finish the question.
Wait until counsel has finished the question. If you can answer it, answer it. If you don't understand it, ask her to rephrase.
Because you didn't feel it was important. When you were asked questions about what happened on December 2nd, you lied.
It did not change what happened on December 2nd. It did not change what happened on December 2nd. He choked and slapped me.
Ms. Adams, I'm going to try my question again. Because you didn't think it was important. When you asked the questions of Dedham Police Officer Ellis on December 16th, you lied.
I did not lie. I just did not expand on detail on the relationship I had with Mr. Diggs. I didn't feel that that was important. The sexual relationship, I didn't feel like that was important. I didn't feel it was important that he was upset because I told him I was not in love with him like those other women. I was ashamed of being with him. I didn't feel the need to explain it to the police officers.
Ms. Adams,
I'm sorry.
please answer the question so that counsel can then ask you the next question. All right?
Under oath, on December 2nd, when you claim Mr. Diggs walked into your room, you had not been having a text exchange fight over money.
The last text exchange fight was over money. The last text exchange was me saying, you need to pay me out for the rest of the season. I'm out of your life. Give me the money for my business in that order. That was the last text exchange. His response to me
Well, ma'am, before we get to his response, why don't we get
You
to
will
what
be paying me out for the season and the money you said you would give me for my business. Wasted my, excuse my language, fucking time being here because you have a, excuse my language again, a fucking circus going on. I am out of your life. I am ruining that bitch life.
All right, Ms. Adams, you're going to listen to counsel's question. You're going to answer that question, and then you're going to wait for the next question. This is not an opportunity for you just to say whatever comes to mind.
Okay.
All right? It is to be responsive to the questions presented.
Okay.
Next question, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. That response that you just read, that was actually a response to something Steph wrote to you, right?
That was a text exchange over money.
No question, ma'am.
What was your question?
What you just read into the record, that was a response to a text message that Steph sent to you, correct?
Yes.
And in that request, in that message that Steph sent to you, you understood you were getting fired, right?
No.
What Steph wrote to you is, "I'ma leave you be. Thank you for cooking for me for this season. I appreciate you. Hate it even got to this, but oh well." Right?
Yes.
And you understood when you received that he was telling you you were not going to be cooking for him anymore.
No.
You didn't understand that.
No.
And that's why you responded with, "You will be paying me out the season and the money you owe me."
No.
Because you knew you were about to lose your job, right?
I was not about to lose my job.
You didn't understand, "I'ma leave you be. Thank you for cooking for me this season. I appreciate you. Hate it even got like this," as a sign that you were about to lose your job?
No.
In any event, you didn't tell Officer Ellis on December 16th when you reported this assault any of that, right?
The last text message was about money. The last back and forth text messages was about money. Money he owed me for not finishing out the contract, and money he owed me that he said that he would invest in my business.
So
I took a lower pay because Stefon agreed that I will have chance to work on my business by working with
Ms.
him.
Adams, there's no question in front of you right now. And again, please answer the questions put to you. It is not an opportunity for you just to vent with your story.
you told other falsehoods to Officer Ellis, didn't you?
No, not to my knowledge.
You told Officer Ellis that you had injuries from this alleged assault, right?
I told him I had bruising, redness, and soreness on my throat.
You told him you had bruising on your neck, right?
It was like red. It wasn't like purple bruises. On the incident report, if you pull that up.
You didn't have any injuries when you walked into the police office on December 16th, did you?
No, because that happened on December 2nd.
Right. So any injuries that you would have had, you had a reason for why they weren't there, right?
It happened, it faded. The fading went away the night.
Right. Did you take any pictures of your injuries?
I was in shock. First thing was not to take pictures. It was to get it together.
I thought you just testified under oath that you had just received a text message from a woman named Anna. That's Anna Kokolis, right?
You're in the wrong timeline.
You didn't just testify under oath.
You're on the wrong timeline.
You didn't just testify under oath that you were sitting on your bed, reading a cookbook, got a text message from Anna, and Mr. Diggs walked into your room?
Mr. Diggs walked in minutes after I texted Anna. That's how I based the time on what time he walked in my room.
Okay. So you had a phone in your hand when he walked in the room?
My phone was on the bed. I was reading a book. I wasn't texting her in the moment of Mr. Diggs walking in the room.
No. Okay. But you had a phone right there in your room?
Yes.
It's an iPhone?
Yes.
And it's got a camera on it?
Yes.
And you can take videos with it?
Yes.
And you do take videos with it?
Yes.
You take pictures with it?
Yes.
You take pictures of yourself with it?
Yes.
A lot?
Not often.
Not often. You have social media account for your business, don't you?
Yes.
Do you post things on your social media account?
I'm not as active as I should be.
You don't use your iPhone to take videos or pictures for that?
I'm not a very active person on social media.
I see. But you certainly had a phone in your room when you claim you were violently assaulted and injured, right?
That has nothing to do or justify the reason I was attacked.
The yes or no question, ma'am.
Yes, I had a phone.
Okay. You took no pictures of your face or your neck? Or
that
your
has
chest?
nothing to do.
I need to finish my question.
Okay.
You took no pictures of your face on December 2nd, did you?
No.
No pictures of your neck on December 2nd, right?
No.
No pictures of your chest on December 2nd?
No.
You said Mr. Diggs hit you across the face. Did you have any marks on your face?
No.
You understand Mr. Diggs is a professional football player, right?
Yes.
He's an elite athlete.
I don't know. He's an athlete.
You don't know that he's an elite athlete?
I guess.
Okay.
You call him that.
And you testified he slapped you across your face?
Yes.
And you had no marks from it?
I was red. It was red. I'm lighter complexion.
Bruises, they get worse over time. Do you agree with me?
It was redness. It wasn't bruises.
Oh, hang on. There's an objection.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Objection. That is overruled. You may answer the question.
Thank you, Anna.
I have redness, mark, like I'm light skinned. I turn red when
You also get bruises, don't you?
if I hit something hard, yeah.
Right. And bruises get worse over time, right?
Okay. I'm not
Do
sure.
they?
I'm not sure. I don't get bruises a lot. I don't recall.
Do you recall telling Officer Ellis you were bruised on December 2nd?
My idea of bruising is soreness, hurting. I was red. It was redness. My face was red and on my chest was red. I didn't turn purple or pink or anything like that. I didn't. It was redness.
Because you didn't have any injuries when you walked into the police station on December 16th, Officer Ellis actually sent you a form to fill out to describe the injuries that you said you had on December 2nd, right?
Yes.
And you filled out that form, right?
Yes.
And you didn't do it on December 16th, did you?
No.
He actually emailed it to you, and you took 2 days, and then you emailed it back. True?
Yes.
Okay. And on that form, you put that your chest and throat were very sore for days after, right?
Yes.
And you put that you had redness, tenderness, pain, and bruising on your neck, right?
Like I said, bruising for me is redness. It was sore. It was redness.
Well, you filled out.
Faded away and literally like maybe by the next day, if earlier than that.
Ms. Adams, when did you learn that the defense had provided videos of you to the Commonwealth?
Maybe yesterday or Friday, I think. Sometime last week when I spoke with Drew.
So last Thursday, you met with Mr. Virtue to prepare for your testimony, right?
Yes.
And you met with your lawyer as well, right?
Yes.
Your lawyer is representing you in an effort to get money from Mr. Diggs.
My lawyer is representing me my workers' comp claim, the injuries that I received on the job that Mr. Diggs refused to pay for. That's what my lawyer is representing me for.
Are you sure about that, ma'am?
She is my I got my lawyer from workers' comp.
We'll come back to that. Let's stay with the form. You told Officer Ellis on December 18th, so now 16 days after you say you were assaulted, that you had redness, bruising, and soreness on your chest, right?
I told him that, or I wrote that.
Well, you wrote it in a form. You took your time and you chose which
I checked the
answers
marks.
to give,
Yes.
right? Okay. And you told him your shoulders were red and very sore, right?
Right. This whole area here was sore. Across my chest, up here.
And you told him your whole body was sore, actually, didn't you?
It was.
You told him it was difficult for you to sleep.
I was very upset.
And I think you testified today that Steph supposedly put his forearm around your neck.
Steph did put his forearm around my neck.
Not his hand.
No.
Okay. But you told Officer Ellis he used his hand, didn't you?
I told him he used this. This is the crook of his elbow. That is in the report.
Rana, may I approach?
You may approach.
That's the form that you filled out over a course of 2 days and sent back to Officer Ellis, true?
Yes.
And if you look right in under the heading method and or manner of strangulation suffocation, right in the maybe top third of that page, you see that?
Yes.
Question number 2. How was the victim strangled? Check all that apply. See that?
Forearm, right hand.
You told him you were strangled with his right hand, true?
With forearm, right hand. That is what's checked.
Okay, but you just testified under oath it was only his forearm.
This is the right side. I'm little. Everything went across my neck. So that is what I meant by forearm right hand was his whole right side. Right hand was the smack and forearm was the choke. How was the victim strangled? That was right hand meant smack, but his whole right arm was across my chest.
You also estimated the level of pressure that the suspect used during strangulation. Do you remember doing that?
Yes. I peed myself and I came back on my cycle really heavily.
So that was a yes or no question,
hard.
Ma'am? You gave it a yes. You remember doing that, right?
Yes.
And you had a choice. Low is a 1 and 10 is a high. You see that?
Yes.
What'd you pick?
10.
10.
Yes.
You said Mr. Diggs is 6 feet tall. He's actually 6'2", right?
I don't know.
You don't know how tall he is? You've known him for 4.5 years.
I don't know. He's taller than me. Way taller than me.
Okay. And you know he lifts weights every day, right? He takes hits from 300-pound men, right? For his job. True?
I guess.
Do you know that?
No, I don't know what his role is. And I thought he ran the ball. I don't know if I'm not sure what he does.
How many games that Steph Diggs has played in have you attended?
I don't know football. I don't watch it to know what's what. I've attended a couple games.
The question was, how many of Stefon Diggs' games have you gone to and watched?
Gone to? Maybe 4.
And you don't know that he gets tackled in that game?
I don't really watch it, honestly. I'm just there for the vibes. I don't really know what be going on in football. I don't know the rules.
I think you will agree with me, that if Stefon Diggs used 10 out of 10 force on your neck.
It was 10 for me. For my little body and what I couldn't breathe, it was a 10 for me.
The question was, estimate the level of pressure that the suspect used during strangulation.
It felt a 10 to me. I could not breathe.
So you chose to answer a different question than the one you were asked.
This questionnaire is about me. Why wouldn't I answer it about me? This is not a questionnaire that's a united, I don't know how to say it, a global, this is about me. This is what happened to me.
Okay. But you will agree with me, hypothetically speaking, if Stefon Diggs used 10 out of 10 strength to choke someone, anyone, that person would have bruises on their neck.
I would not agree.
Sustained. That objection is sustained.
You will agree that if Stefon Diggs used 10 out of 10 force to choke you, you would have bruises on your neck.
Objection.
Sustained.
Now, you went to New York, you said, on the evening of December 2nd, true?
True.
And you stayed there until December 9th?
Yes.
You had your phone with you all week?
Yes.
You took messages. You sent text messages?
Yes.
We know that because that's when you started talking about your money, right?
I did what?
You testified.
I asked for my money. I didn't talk about my money. I asked for him to have finance sign off to pay me.
My mistake.
Yes. Thank you.
We'll get to that money too. And you didn't think it was important to record your injuries or take photos?
No, I was in shock. This is someone that I love that put his hands on me. That was not my first instinct, was to go and take a photo.
Sure. And then December 3rd, you didn't take any pictures?
No.
And December 4th?
It's a very complicated relationship. No, I did not take photos.
And you didn't take any videos?
No.
And you didn't go to the ER?
No.
You didn't go to a walk-in?
He already hadn't paid my medical bills. Why would I go get more medical bills?
Objection, Your Honor. Move to strike.
The answer will be stricken. Non-responsive. Jurors will disregard it, not considering your declaration.
You didn't seek any medical attention, right?
Unpaid medical bills.
Your Honor.
Counsel. Next question.
When you were with Shai and Tali for that week in New York City, you didn't say anything to them about being
I don't
sore.
know Tali. I just met Tali on the night of December the 2nd.
Okay.
Shai Charles has her own interpersonal relationship with
Ma'am?
Stefon.
I need to be able to ask you questions.
Okay, I thought I was still answering the first question that you said. You didn't let me finish.
Ms. Adams, we're going to take it again, just a question at a time. All right, it isn't an opportunity for a narrative. And so let her ask her question, all right, and then answer the question. And if there is, if you're feeling that you're not being allowed to finish, you let me know. But
Okay.
just take it a question at a time. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. You didn't tell them anything about being assaulted.
These are not people I trust to tell anything of that nature to.
They're just people that you trust to spend a week with.
These are people that I met through Stefon Diggs. I had no choice but to stay with them. I had no money.
I thought you just testified you had a ticket to Atlanta.
That Sonny brought.
And then you changed on December 2nd, right?
Yes.
And then you changed your ticket to Atlanta to go to New York
Yes.
with Shy and Sonny. I'm sorry, with Shy and Tolly, right?
Yes.
So you did have someplace else to
I
go.
changed the ticket because I didn't have money for Ubers to get home in Atlanta. Shy was going to pick me up from the airport.
Okay.
I didn't have a place to stay in Atlanta. I given up my place to stay with Stefon Diggs. So I didn't have money for a hotel or Airbnb to go home to Atlanta.
All right, Ms. Adams, hold up for the next question.
Thank you, Your
Go
Honor.
ahead.
You've traveled with Shy before, right?
Yes.
You went with her to Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
You're actually friends with her, aren't you?
Associates.
Right.
Co-workers.
Well, you've traveled to another country with Shy.
It's levels to friends. It was a co-worker. I just met Shy in August.
Did Steph go on that trip to Trinidad and Tobago?
No.
Okay. And that was in the fall of 2025.
Yes.
And then you went on another trip in the fall of 2025 to see Shy, right?
No, I didn't go on another trip. I was told to leave the house. So I went to stay with Shy because I didn't have anywhere to stay.
Okay. And Shy picked you up in her car, you said?
Yes.
And can you describe what the inside of her car looks like?
It's a white car. I think it's burgundy or something like that.
So the outside is white?
Yes.
And then the inside is burgundy.
Most as I remember. I can't say exact.
And Shy has a dash cam right in her car, doesn't she?
Not that I'm aware of.
You didn't see a dash cam in her car?
No, I saw where you see the speedometer and stuff like that.
No, not down on the panel where people look when they're driving. Up on the top of her car, there's a bar on the top of her car with a dash cam on it, right?
No, I didn't see that.
You didn't see that?
No.
Did Shy ever tell you that she had a dash cam in her car?
No.
Okay. Did you know that you were being recorded on that dash cam on December 2nd?
No.
Did you know you were being recorded on December 3rd?
No.
You know now you were recorded, correct?
Yes.
And you've seen the videos that came from Shy's dash cam in her car, true?
No.
Oh, you haven't seen them yet?
No.
Your Honor, permission to publish Exhibit 5. I understand it's already in evidence.
Go right ahead, Counsel.
Ms. Adams, I'm going to show to you what's been admitted in this case as
Okay.
Exhibit 5.
I can't see.
Hang on, they're just putting it up. Just wait one second. All right.
And I believe you testified that you first became aware that there were videos of you last week.
Yes.
So we could just stop right there, Mr. Kettlewell. I don't know, Ms. Adams, were you able to see that person in that video?
A little bit.
If not, we can play the whole thing.
Okay.
Okay.
We want to also move that a little closer, or?
I think it's logistics. So while this is playing, Ms. Adams, do you recognize that person on the video as you?
Yes.
And you're sitting in the front seat of Shy's car?
Yes.
And this is you when you were just after you were picked up from LaGuardia Airport on December 2nd, right?
Yes.
Okay. Was there someone else in the car to your memory?
No, not when she picked me up.
I'm sorry?
No, not when she picked me up.
Okay. Did Tolly Moses also get picked up from LaGuardia just after you?
No, she got picked up from a boyfriend's house in Queens.
But she was eventually in that car with you?
Yes.
So Shy was driving the car, is that right?
Yes.
And then you're in the front passenger seat as we see you?
Yes.
And then did Tolly sit in the back behind you?
Behind Shy.
I'm sorry?
Behind
Shy? Okay. And this was all on December 2nd?
Yes.
And this is the day you say you were violently assaulted?
Yes, that doesn't justify or prove that I wasn't assaulted because I learned how to save face.
All right, again.
Okay?
Okay.
Question. All right.
Mr. Kettlewell, can we also show the next video? I believe it's also in Exhibit 5.
Your Honor, just for clarification, there's Exhibit 5, I think, is just a number of videos in one exhibit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Virtue. And do you recognize the person in this video?
Yes.
And that's you in Shai's car again?
Yes.
And this is the next day, right? It's December 3rd. Do you recognize that?
Yeah.
Well, you might not be able to see. I'll give you, Mr. Kettlewell, is this marked as Exhibit 5 also, the stills?
No, the stills are 6 and 7.
I'll show you what's been marked as Exhibit 7.
Okay.
You recognize that person as you?
Yes.
And that's you in Shai's car,
Yes.
right? When you visited her in New York City?
Yes.
And you say you don't remember if that's what date that is? I'm sorry, may I approach one more time? If I could direct your
I didn't say I didn't remember. I didn't remember what date it was.
Oh,
I can't tell the day that it is. I don't remember. I was in her car. I stayed for her the week.
Okay.
You're telling me it's December the 3rd.
if I can direct your attention to this line right here.
Okay.
See how it says 2025 1203?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what that means?
No.
Okay. But this is you on your New York trip
Yes.
with Shai in her car.
My New York stay was Shy.
Okay. All right.
This has not been preliminarily marked. Parties are offering it.
I believe that was intended to be in the thumb drive. It's in the thumb drive separately. So
Stills, though, I think Mr. Clerk is referencing, have not been marked as 6 or 7 as the court's record.
So if we could,
So if you want them admitted, they are not.
I have no objection to those stills being marked as 6 and 7.
Thank you.
This would be Exhibit 7. That's that.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Clerk. And this is,
Is there a copy for the court?
yes, sir. This is Exhibit 6. And then you also had some videos taken of you by Tolly while you were in New York, right?
I don't remember. I don't recall.
Do you remember? Well, first, you, Shai, and Tolly all stayed in Brooklyn, in New York, from December 2nd to December 9th, right?
Yes.
And you all stayed in the same bedroom,
Yes.
slept in the same bedroom,
Yes.
and were together a lot of the time that week. True?
Mostly yes.
Okay. And there was one night where you and Tolly were kind of goofing around with the video and taking videos. Do you remember that?
I don't recall that.
Okay. Mr. Kettlewell, can we play Exhibit 8? And, before we do, I would move Exhibit 8 into evidence. It's a video from December 6th. Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, just no objection to that for the record.
And Ms. Adams, did you recognize the person on that video?
Yes.
Who is that?
Me.
And that's in Shai's bedroom, right?
Yes.
Where you and Tolly and Shai spent the entire week, right?
Majority Tally would sleep on the couch some days.
I'm sorry?
Tally would sleep on the couch some days.
Okay. But in that video, Tolly was videoing you, right?
I don't recall that.
You don't remember that?
Yeah, but I was there.
Okay. Mr. Kettlewell, and Your Honor, I would move in Exhibit 9, which is another video from that same time. December 6, 2025.
Hey.
Ms. Adams, that was you on that video, correct?
Yes.
Sorry. And Ms. Adams, I'd just ask you to look at those and tell me if that's a fair and accurate representation of you from the week you spent in New York
That day, yes.
on December 6, 2025.
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, may I publish to the jury? Thank you.
Just for the record, counsel, what is the number that the
I am offering to the jury Exhibits 9 and 10, which are two stills taken from the second video of Exhibit 8.
And no objection, Your Honor.
Now, Steph and his group got back from Miami to his Dedham home on December 7th, correct?
I'm not sure the day he got back. I got back on the 9th.
I'm sorry?
Tuesday Well, it was late in the night. Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. The 9th, I got back.
Well, you know he got back to the Dedham house before you did.
I didn't know that. When I got there, I realized that he was there. I was in no communication with him on what day he was coming back.
But you were in communication with him.
To ask for my pay, yes.
Can you turn to tab C?
Mm-hmm.
And you testified about a text exchange you had with him at around 12:30 on December 2nd, where you called him a pussy, right?
Yes.
And then he said, show me I'm pussy, and you said, will do.
Yes.
Right? And then if you turn the page, if you look to the next message from you, so in Exhibit 3, there are bubbles, right? There's blue bubbles, you see, and green bubbles.
Yes.
And do you understand the green bubble to be Steph Diggs' messages?
Yes.
And the blue bubbles to be your messages?
Yes.
Okay. And if you look on the page, I hope you're on the right page. It ends in that number on the bottom right corner at 118. Do you see that number? Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
So 117, we just looked at.
Okay.
I'm looking at 118, your first message. And do you see down here these numbers here?
Yes.
So this message was sent on December 5th, correct?
Yes.
All right. And you sent it.
Yes.
So now this is 3 days after the violent assault that you talked about. Right?
Yes.
And what did you say in that message?
How can you approve my pay with finance, please? I have to pay my insurance this month. Thank you. Please and thank you.
Okay. And then if you could look at the next message. Actually, you know what? Let's not do that. Let's hold that for a second. So you were texting with Steph Diggs and the week you were in December. I'm sorry, in the week in December, you were in New York, right?
I text Stefon one time.
Okay. But your testimony is you don't know when he was coming back to the Dedham house.
I didn't. I didn't know the exact date.
You didn't. But you knew he was coming back.
Yes.
Because that would be important to know, right?
I've worked in this industry. I went off of a previous client schedule. They normally will return on Tuesday. So I was in guest mode.
But the last time you saw Steph Diggs was when he was assaulting you, you said.
That wasn't the last time I saw Steph Diggs. I said here that I walked in his room after the assault before I was leaving to give him his birthday gift.
That's right.
Yes.
Okay. You gave him a birthday gift after the assault happened.
We were friends for 4.5 years with a very complicated relationship.
Okay. I think you testified on December 9th you went back to the Dedham house, right?
Yes.
And you got yourself an airplane back to Boston, right?
Sonny got me an airplane back to Boston.
Okay. And you landed at Logan Airport at night.
Yes.
Then you took an Uber to the Dedham house.
Yes.
You arrived around 11:30 p.m.
Yes.
You were alone.
Yes.
You came by yourself.
Yes.
Didn't bring anybody.
No.
Okay. And when you got in the house, you went and knocked on Steph's bedroom door.
I went to put my things away and I knocked on his door. Yes.
I'm sorry, I couldn't.
I went to put my things away and knocked at his door.
Okay. And that was around midnight on changing over from December 9th to December 10th, right?
That's what it says here. I don't recall the time, but this is what the messages say.
Well, he didn't open his door, did he?
His code was different. He changed the codes when I came back.
Ah, right. Because in that house, the bedrooms all had key codes on each door, didn't
That he
they?
controlled. Yes.
Did the bedrooms all have key codes on that door?
Yes, that he controlled.
I'm sorry. This is a yes or no question. See if you can try it. Did all of the bedrooms in that house have different key codes on them?
Yes, that he controlled.
So you can't.
What do you mean?
You had a key code on your door, right?
Yes.
And if it was shut, it would be locked, right?
No. The door had issues. I would often text Sunny because she checked and make sure my door was locked.
I'm sorry, when did you text Sunny to please check if your door was locked?
When I left the first week of November, when he made me leave to have female guests over.
Your Honor, Move to strike.
That answer is not responsive will be stricken, and the jurors will disregard it in their deliberations.
Okay. So on December 9th, round about midnight, when you got back to his house alone,
Yes.
you went and knocked on his door, right?
Yes.
And he didn't open it.
I didn't knock. I tried to get in the door.
Okay, you tried to walk into his door.
No, that's how I would go in his room. I would unlock his door.
Sure, just like always, right?
When he needs food and his door was closed, I would go in his room.
Right.
I never went in his room without permission.
You going in there on December 9th was no different than any other day, right?
No.
And when you weren't able to get in, you actually sent him a text message, right?
Yes.
And you told him, can you read what you told him?
I was coming to ask you what time you have to be at work and to say hi.
Okay. And then you just went right back to work, right?
Yeah, I went to bed.
I'm sorry?
I went into my room and went to bed.
You went into your room and you went to sleep
Yes.
by yourself
Yes.
in the house
Yes.
with Steph Diggs there.
Yes.
And then the next morning you got up and you made him breakfast.
Yes.
Now you told Officer Ellis when you reported the assault that you left your position on December 2nd. Do you remember that?
I was saying I left the house. I didn't leave my position. I was really going back to get my things. I had no plan, with nowhere to go, so I needed to be nice to him.
Did you tell Officer Ellis after the alleged assault on 12/2/2025, Adams left her position and left the residence to stay with a friend in New York?
Left my position mean I left to get on a plane and go. I didn't tell him I quit. That didn't mean that I quit.
You didn't quit.
No.
Did you tell Officer Ellis that on 12/9/2025, you returned to the house just to get your property?
Yes, I was going to get my property.
But you were also going to work for a while first?
Basically, I was going to get my property. I was trying to get my money. I asked Mr. Diggs the next day about my money when I returned to the house.
And you kept on cooking and doing your job for a whole nother week, didn't you?
No, I stopped cooking. If I'm not mistaken, I didn't cook over the weekend because I said on the 11th, I asked Mr. Diggs in front of his mother and Shy Charles about my pay.
Okay.
That was another text exchange.
A different question.
Okay.
On several days of that week, you simply kept doing your job.
And asking for my pay.
That's a yes or no question, ma'am.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
You kept doing your job.
Yes.
Officer Ellis was wrong when he wrote that you left your position on 12/2.
I left the house, so him putting position didn't mean that I left my job as a chef. I left the house on December 2nd.
So you told Officer Ellis that you left your position, but you meant you left the house to go to New York.
Yes, I left for the day. It wasn't that I was saying I quit or saying it in a way that I quit my job. I didn't say that.
You've mentioned Mr. Diggs' assistant, Sunny, a couple of times, right?
Stealing Sunny, yes.
I'm sorry?
Stealing Sunny, that's what he calls her.
Your Honor, I move to strike, and I'd ask that the witness be instructed to please answer a question.
That answer will be stricken. The jurors will disregard it. Ma'am, if you don't understand the question, please ask the counsel to restate it.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sunny was a friend of yours, wasn't she?
No.
Ms. Adams, you texted Sunny all the time, didn't you?
Because that was my contact. Go to contact for payment, go to contact if I didn't have access to his card or I didn't have money on my card to order food. And we would discuss things at work.
Take a look and see if you can recognize that as text messages between you and Sunny.
Mm-hmm.
Do you recognize that document as text messages between you and Sunny?
Yes.
Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach? Do you see where the messages start on Thursday, December 11th?
Yes.
At 7:44 a.m., you see that?
Yes.
And this is an exchange between you and Sunny, right?
Yes.
And you write to her, morning, did you change my door code? right?
Yes.
And that's what you were just talking about. Each door has its own door code in Steph Diggs' home, right?
Yes.
And you were having trouble getting into your door code on December 11th.
Yes.
And had you been having trouble getting into your door code since you got back on the evening of the 9th and 10th?
When I walked in on the 9th, it pushed right open.
Okay. All right. So it changed in somewhere around there.
When the morning, maybe when I walked out the door, that morning I made breakfast. If I'm not mistaken, that's the morning that,
Yeah, ma'am, I'm just going to stop you.
Okay.
It's not responsive.
All right.
All right. So on December 11th at 7:44, you asked Sunny, did you change my door code? And she says, no, I don't know the code. Right?
She doesn't have access to change code.
Okay. And she says, Rich? ? Who's Rich?
Rich was like somebody that helped around the house.
He was like a maintenance guy.
I don't call him that.
Just someone to help around the house?
He did a lot of stuff for Mr. Diggs.
Okay.
He wasn't a
He was
maintenance
at the house
person.
a lot, right?
If we needed anything, yes, we would call Rich.
Okay. And you say to Sunny, I asked, he hasn't answered yet. And then you say they changed it, right?
Yes.
Sunny asks, who changed it?
Your Honor, may we be seated sidebar?
Yes.
All doing okay? Does anyone need a break? All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you.
All right. So you say they changed it, right? And Sunny asks, who changed it? And what did you say to Sunny?
He said they. So
What else did you say to Sunny?
he said, hey, so Steph and the, excuse my language, white bitch.
I'm sorry?
I said, he said they, so Steph and the white bitch.
When you said he said they, the he in that sentence was Steph, right?
Yes. No. Yeah. Yes.
And the they, who was that?
Them two together.
So your testimony is, so the white bitch, is that Lindsay?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So was that the kind of thing you said to your coworker?
Yes, because she called me a bitch first.
I see. So you were kind of friendly with Sunny.
Yes.
You shared stuff with her.
Sunny disliked her too.
Okay. So you shared that.
They had their own thing before I came.
And so that text exchange with Sunny, that was at 7:44 a.m. on December 11th.
Yes.
All right. And if you look at these messages on page 178 of Exhibit 4, this blue message at the top is something that you sent on December 11th, 7:52 a.m. Do you see that?
Yes.
And you sent it to Steph.
Yes.
What did you say to Steph?
Did Lindsay change my door code? And why can't I get into my room?
Okay. And then you and Steph kind of have a back and forth about the codes and why can't you get in, right?
Yes.
All right.
I don't remember that. That's not listed here, though.
Okay. And meanwhile, you're also having a text exchange with Sunny about Steph and the white bitch, right?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor. May we be heard?
Yes. All right. It's stated at sidebar that objection is sustained. Let's move on.
Thank you, Your Honor. So you and Steph have some back and forth that same morning, December 11th, right?
Yes.
In text message. He explains to you, I didn't know if you were if he was going come back or not, so I had him changed, right?
Stefon know why he had the door lock changed.
Is that what he wrote to you on
Yes.
December 11th in the morning?
Yes.
Okay. And what did you respond? It's right there on the same page in the blue bubble.
No, it's not.
Can you see
Lord.
it?
Oh, Lord.
And if you can turn the page, Steph wrote, shit you was saying, it was like it was over with. I was like, well, you understood he was talking about the text fight you had on December 2nd, right?
No.
Yeah. What did you respond to Steph?
I said no.
I'm sorry?
I said no. I didn't say yeah.
You didn't understand that he was talking about the last time that you saw each other on December 2nd, which is the day you got in the text fight about Lindsay and you not going to Miami?
Me and Stefon had arguments all the time. Like, not all the time, often, and it would just fly over. But it didn't turn into a fight like it did. I needed to come back to get my things.
Let's see what did you respond to Stefon on December 11th? And this is now 9 days after you were assaulted, supposedly.
I was assaulted. It wasn't supposedly.
What did you respond to Steph?
Was very emo. Sorry I made you feel that way. I don't want to leave. I want to stay to take care of you as long as I need you.
And you sent him a second message.
Really sorry, Steph.
You were angry with him on December 2nd. You already testified to that.
Needed to be nice to Stefon in order to get my pay to leave.
I'm sorry, you were texting?
I needed to be nice to Stefon in order to get my pay to leave.
Let's talk about your pay.
Yes.
You admit that you were apologizing to him about December 2nd and your behavior, don't you?
I was being nice to Stefon to get back in his good graces to get paid.
You were apologizing for your
Not
behavior.
by choice.
You were apologizing to Stefon Diggs by text on December 11th for your behavior on December 2nd.
Not by choice.
Is that a yes?
That's a not by choice.
It's a yes or no question, ma'am.
I don't know what that would be, a yes or no question.
It's a yes or no question.
If the witness is saying she can't answer that yes or no, she can have the answer stand that she gave.
Okay. All right. So your claim, I guess, is that Steph owed you money.
It's not a guess. Stefon did back wages. Wages owed. It was wages. I think you should use the correct language.
The correct language
is
for your
wages.
Civil lawsuit?
I don't have a civil lawsuit.
You were paid $2,000 per week to cook for him, right?
Yes.
And if you used your own money to buy groceries, you were reimbursed for that.
Yes.
And when you were hired to work as Steph's chef, you didn't have to fill out a job application, right?
I stated previously, me and Stefon had an interpersonal relationship that was professional.
So is that a no? I did not.
I don't know how to answer that question. Yes or no.
Fill out a job application?
I don't know how to answer that question. Yes or no.
Ma'am, did you fill out a job application?
No. No.
Next question.
You didn't have any employment contract or anything?
Yes, we did.
Did you sign a written employment contract?
We had a verbal text contract.
You didn't have to interview with anyone to get the job, right?
He knew my skills.
So on December 1st, this is the day before you say you were assaulted, you submitted an invoice to be paid, didn't you?
Yes.
And can you explain to the jury, so you weren't just automatically paid?
I was supposed to be. They sent maybe 2 automatic payments, and then the rest was I would have to go through Sunny.
Right. You'd have to confirm with Sunny you worked that week, right?
I would have to, not that I confirm, I lived there, so it wasn't never a confirmation.
She was there a lot too, right?
No.
So you did have to confirm with Sunny if you worked there or not.
Not that I worked. I had to confirm with Sunny my reimbursement. I lived there.
And on December 1st, what you did was you took an invoice for money you claimed you were owed, right?
It's not a claim, it's money that I was owed.
You submitted an invoice on December 1st for payment, right?
I don't recall. I don't know the exact date.
Have you seen this document before?
Yes.
It's an email dated December 4, 2025 from Melissa Goddard.
I saw that in a text screenshot. That email that Melissa has of mine was not working at the time. This was a screenshot that Stefon sent me. I never received this email.
Okay. This is an email from Melissa Goddard.
I never received it to my email.
Did you see the text of this message before?
I seen a screenshot similar. I can't recall the exact message.
Would you like me to give you a document to
Sure.
refresh you?
Yes.
I am. If you want to give the jury a break, it's just going to take me a couple of minutes.
Sure. Why don't we just take a 5-minute stretch break?
Your Honor, I just don't want to waste time.
Mr. Bell. I'll have the jury back in at 4, please.
All rise, jurors can step down.
Court, all rise. Sergeant Combs back in session. You may be seated.
Yes, go right ahead.
We were just looking at an email, and you didn't remember, you said you hadn't received it in that form. If you can turn the page, did you see the invoice?
Yes.
And that was your invoice, right?
Yes.
And you said on that invoice dated December 1st, right?
Yes.
That you were owed payment of $2,000 for three weeks in November, right?
Yes.
And you were owed grocery reimbursement for $3,179.06, right?
Yes.
And that was what you submitted to get payment.
Yes.
And you said you didn't receive this email, but you remembered getting it by text message, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so you have read and you remember seeing the substance of this email, true?
Yes.
Okay. And this is a response to your invoice, right?
I don't recall because Stefon was refusing to pay me for the week he sent me home.
Well, Melissa Goddard writes on December 4th, I appreciate you may not have received this on December 4th, but she writes, "Thank you for providing an invoice. I've attached a readable PDF." And it turned out, Ms. Adams, you had gotten paid for 2 of the 3 weeks that you said you hadn't gotten paid for, right?
This is missing a whole lot of stuff.
The yes or no question.
I can't answer your question correctly without the proper evidence.
You recognize this document as text exchanges between you and Sunny,
Yes.
dated December 9, 2025?
Yes.
And you're the person in the bubbles on the left?
Yes.
And you write to Sunny, "Hey, so I looked over my transfers, payment history, and they sent payments, 11/7 and 11/21, totaling $4,000. See that?
Yes.
So you knew that you had actually been paid for 2 of those 3 weeks that you tried to get paid for again, right?
What's your name? I never got your name.
Did you know
I
that
don't
you
know.
had
I was trying to address you by your name because I'm sorry.
Just for able to answer.
I'm not this. I don't know. I can't answer that question correctly.
You knew on December 9th that you had been paid for 2 of the 3 weeks you said you hadn't been paid for, didn't you?
I don't understand the question.
You just acknowledged you wrote it to Sunny.
I was supposed to be paid for the week I was sent home.
Okay.
So I sent the incorrect amount because I didn't know he wasn't paying me for that week.
Right. So you sought $6,000 instead of $2,000.
That's my calculations was.
Right. And so that last week, that was a week you didn't work, right?
Because I was sent home.
Right. So you weren't in the kitchen cooking.
Mr. Diggs sent me home because he had girls at the house.
Whatever you're going to add
I should
is
be
not
paid.
responsive, Your Honor.
Yes. Ms. Adams, you
I'm sorry.
understand the question you're being asked?
I don't understand.
Her question. Answer Attorney Steele's question, all right, if you can. If it's confusing to you, she will restate it. Counsel, did you restate your question?
Yes. So you weren't in the kitchen cooking that week, right?
No.
Okay. If you can turn back to tab D, page that ends 171, this is Exhibit 4. It has been marked and admitted into evidence. You there?
Mm-hmm.
So these are both, on this page, these are both blue bubbles. So this is your text messages, right?
Yes.
And on December 9th, 2025 at 2:27, you text Steph Diggs, right?
Yes.
And what do you say to Steph Diggs on December 9th? Do you need help finding it?
What's the last?
171. I can help you find it.
I said, can she call?
I'm sorry, the second text message.
Read the second text message?
Yes, please.
Without reading the messages
You can read
before?
the first and we can talk about who you're asking about.
I was told to contact Melissa about my pay. So I responded, can she call me or can I call her?
And Melissa, just to the record's clear, is Melissa Goddard, right?
Yes.
She's Steph Diggs' bookkeeper.
That's what I was told.
She's the person who wrote that email on December 4th informing you that you had been already paid for 2 of the 3 weeks you were looking for, right?
I didn't receive that email.
Understood. So you were asking if she could call you or you could call her, right?
I was told to reach out to her.
You could talk to her, right?
Yes.
And you never called her, did you?
Yes, I did.
What did you say in the second
I asked him
bullet
for
point?
the number.
I'm sorry. And what
I asked him for Miss Melissa Goddard's number.
The number is right on the email that you got in text form.
But that was later time.
This was December 4th. The email is from December 4th. The text message you're about to read is 5 days later, December 9th.
What I'm trying to say to you is that text message was sent at a later date to me.
On December 9th, you acknowledged to Sunny that you knew you had been overpaid. I'm sorry.
Overpaid?
I'm sorry.
Underpaid.
You knew that 4 of the $6,000 you were seeking, you had already received. And the last week that you hadn't been paid for was the week you weren't there. And now if you can read this text message that you sent to Steph Diggs on that same day, December 9th.
Hi, so I looked over the payments. Are you not paying me for the week you told me to go home? If not, that's fine. And just for my past employers, when I'm asked not to work, I'm still paid because I'm only with them for the season. It was supposed to say them. It said the season.
So that takes care of all of the weeks that you said you weren't paid for on December 1st, right?
The weeks that I sent to him calculated was adding in that week.
2 weeks you had already been paid for. 1 week you didn't work, and you told Steph on December 9th, if you don't want to pay that, that's fine. Right?
Yes.
All right. You also sought $3,179.06 in reimbursement for money you claimed you spent on groceries.
Yes.
That was on December 1st.
I guess the day I sent the email.
Okay.
The text to Sunny.
And
Please turn off all phones.
And you knew that you needed to submit receipts to justify that level of expense on groceries.
That's what I did. Yes.
Is your testimony here under oath that you submitted receipts justifying $3,179.06 spent on groceries out of your money?
It was messed up. Was off. Something was off. Some receipts were the wrong receipt, and we cleared it up.
So something was messed up about that.
Yes.
Money, right?
Yes.
You talked about an NDA, a nondisclosure agreement. Melissa asked you to return an NDA, right?
No.
I'm sorry?
No. Sunny asked me.
You received an email from Melissa Goddard on December 13th, right?
Melissa and Sunny, I was having problems with the email, the same email.
Yes or no question, ma'am?
I can't answer that correctly.
May I approach, Your Honor? You recognize that as an email you received from Melissa Goddard on December 13th?
Yes.
And the subject line is NDA payment?
Yes.
She tells you she's Melissa, Mr. Diggs' bookkeeper, right?
Yes.
So you hadn't talked to her before December 13th because she's introducing herself right now.
Yes.
Okay. She says, please return the completed NDA provided to you by Sunny to this email address, right?
Yes.
This is required for employment with Mr. Diggs or any of his entities, right?
Yes.
Sunny has an NDA, doesn't she?
I'm not sure.
You don't know?
I don't talk to Sunny about her business, but Mr. Diggs.
You had some text messages with Mr. Diggs on December 13th, right after you got that email, didn't you?
I don't recall the date. I would like to see.
Let's go to page 195. And again, this big blue text bubble right here at the top, that's from you, right?
Yes.
And you write to Steph on December 13, 2025, you sitting here playing in my face. It's 700 some comments and none saying you effing Lindsay. Not a one. So if I told someone that, why it's not in a blog, you're still talking about that blog, that anonymous blog that caused you to get mad at Steph on December 2nd, right? When he chose to believe Lindsay over you. I'll clarify. Thank you, Mr. Virtue. On December 13th, you're still mad about the issue that led to Steph believing Lindsay over you.
From my recollection, he didn't.
I'm sorry. On December 13th.
I can't answer that question correctly without the previous text from Mr. Diggs.
You write, not a one, so if I told someone that, why it's not in a blog. You believe it and now sign an NDA. Send me my money. You sitting here playing in my face. Isn't that what you said?
Yes.
Okay. You were mad about the NDA because you thought you had to sign it because Steph believed you leaked something, right?
Yes.
Didn't have anything to do with an assault.
What did you say? I don't understand your
You
question.
thought the fact that you were being asked to sign an NDA was an indication that Stefon still didn't trust you,
No.
right?
No.
But you're talking about Lindsay and a blog to him the same day you get an email from Melissa asking you to sign an NDA, right?
Stefon knew that I know.
Yes
so
or no question,
I can't
ma'am.
answer that question without explaining.
If I told someone that why it's not in the blog, you believe it and now sign an NDA. Those are your words, right?
It was now signing NDA after you assault me. I had information on you.
You didn't
And you
say
think I was leaving.
Ma'am, it's not responsive. You didn't say anything about an assault when you talked about an NDA, did you?
It does not change the fact that I was assaulted.
You talked about Lindsay in a blog and he
It
believed
does not
Lindsay.
change the fact I was assaulted.
The first time you connected an NDA with an assault was when you went in to talk to Officer Ellis on December 16th to make a police report, right?
Yes, because I noticed the behavior.
And that was the same officer that you didn't need to be honest with about some of the details about your relationship with Steph, what happened on December 2nd, when you left your position, why you went back to his house on December 9th. True?
I don't understand the question. Can you repeat it?
All of those things that you said to Officer Ellis on December 16th were not true. You had a fight with Stefon Diggs on December 2nd over text about Lindsay and a blog and him believing Lindsay. Not about money, right?
It was about money. The last text that I sent to Mr. Diggs was about money.
It was a bit of a compound question.
Yes.
It's true, Your Honor. Let's turn back to the text messages between you and Steph after you sent that text message to him on the 13th, connecting the NDA with Steph's believing Lindsay.
I didn't say believe in Lindsay.
Ma'am, there's no question in front of you.
You and Stefon got in another text argument about that issue, right? And if you could turn to page 201, the green bubble is Stefon, right?
Yes.
And he writes to you on December 13th, here you go. Don't worry about Melissa, and you don't got to worry about working moving forward. I never told nobody not to pay you. They said you owed money. You knew that, right?
No.
You knew that Melissa calculated the receipts that you submitted and determined that you had been overpaid. Didn't you?
No.
They said you owed money, says Steph to you on December 13th. Here go that bread you was supposedly owed, I guess. That's what he said to you, right? And he Apple paid you $2,000, didn't he?
Yes.
And then he left another $2,000 on the stair railing in his home for you.
And that was for the week that I was there.
That was for the week of December 9th when you worked, right?
Yes.
And he asked you 3 times in your text message, what else do I owe you? And you never gave him a number, did you?
I said they owe me grocery. I had given Sonny the grocery reimbursement, the person that was my contact for giving receipts to.
I thought you just testified there was a mix-up with the numbers.
Yes, but I had talked to her about that. We had came up with the exact numbers after she added up the receipts.
You understood that Steph fired you that day, right?
I was leaving.
Okay. But you waited until he told you don't have to work here anymore, and he paid you $4,000.
I came back for my money because I didn't have money to leave.
So the record's clear. You came back on December 9th.
To get my money that I was owed.
You worked. And then on December 13th, Steph told you didn't need to work there anymore. Right?
I'd already had in my mind that I was quitting. I just came back to get my money.
You were furious with Steph. on December 13th, weren't you?
No.
No?
No.
Do you remember that Shy Charles was actually at Steph's house that day?
Yes.
And she was braiding his hair.
Yes.
And she was staying downstairs. She was going to stay overnight.
Yes.
And she finished braiding his hair around midnight.
Yes.
And then you came down from your room to talk to Shy.
Yes.
And you did that because she was your friend.
My coworker. We were cool.
And she's the person you spent that week in New York with. December 2nd, the day you were supposedly assaulted, until December 9th, when you came back to the Dedham house, right? And you sat with Shy and you talked to her until 3 a.m, didn't you?
Yes.
You told her you were finished with Steph Diggs, didn't you?
I told her in the middle of the week I was coming back to get my money, and I was trying not to be there when she came to braid his hair.
You made Shy a kind of confession in that conversation, didn't you?
A kind of confession?
Yeah. You told her Steph was going to pay.
No, I did not. I do not recall.
I'm going to remind you you're under oath, and I'll ask you that question again. Did you or did you not sit with Shy Charles on December 13th, a few hours after you were fired from your job, and tell Shy that Steph Diggs was going to pay?
No.
Did you tell Shy you were going to sue Stefon?
No.
So after you were fired on the 13th, you stayed in the house, I think you said 2 more days, right?
I wasn't fired.
After Steph Diggs told you you didn't need to work there anymore and paid you all the money
That day you went back
that
to.
you claimed you were owed, you stayed in the house for 2 more days, right?
I had to get a plane ticket and I had to find somewhere to stay.
Okay. And then when you left his house, you went to the Dedham police station.
No.
You went to the Dedham police station on December 16th.
I left his house on the 15th.
You testified, and on your direct examination, you left on the 16th.
I left Stefon's house on the 15th. I went to the Dedham police station on the 16th.
Okay. And you told them he'd assaulted you 14 days before.
On December the 2nd.
And you had to pick a day that was long enough ago that it would explain why you didn't have any injuries, right?
Objection.
Part of the lesson you were going to teach Steph was to make a false police report. Isn't that true?
Objection.
Well, I'll ask a different question. Your report that you made, it's missing a lot of detail. Would you agree?
Yes. I was afraid to tell the relationship between me and Stefon Diggs.
It's missing more than that.
No,
right?
It's not.
In your opinion, it isn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's missing more of the text that was shared in the morning.
Okay.
It would have exposed a lot of things, and I still was trying to protect him and myself.
You actually recanted your own statements, didn't you?
No. I can't.
So you know the criminal complaint in this case issued on December 29th. You know
What? No, I don't know that.
Well, you were the complainant in the case. Is it your testimony you weren't notified that this case was going to be brought forward to the court?
I don't recall. I don't.
It was big news.
No one reached to me that I recollect.
You reached out to Steph's girlfriend at the time after this complaint was made public, right?
Because in the police report, I had not listened to the voice note. I just read the voice note. I was afraid she knew. I was afraid.
Ma'am, it's a yes or no question.
I can't answer that question.
After this complaint became public on December 29th, you reached out to Steph's girlfriend, didn't you?
I can't recall the date, but yes.
May I approach, Your Honor?
All right, jurors. We are going to be recessing for the day. And I want to remind you not to discuss this case with anyone, including your fellow jurors, family members, or friends. And I also want to state you're not to allow anyone to discuss this case with you or in your presence. I'm going to ask you not to stop in the public areas of the courthouse, to leave the courthouse directly, and then tomorrow morning to return directly to the jury room. All right? And again, you must not read, watch, or listen any news accounts or media reports about this case, and you must not conduct any independent investigation of any kind, including on the internet or otherwise. So please keep an open mind. Do not form or express any opinions about the case until it is submitted to you for your deliberation. We will resume tomorrow. I'm going to ask you to be in the jury room by 8:45. All right? With all of that caution, have a nice night, and thank you for your attention today.
Jurors that exited this court stands in a recess.
Do you want to bring it up to the judge's attention and have at least now? Up to you. Okay.
You're just writing Jared.
Sometimes L's, sometimes Z's.
Yeah.
Very neat.
No, actually, they had provided it previously. No, they provided it previously. It's all in this.
Second stuff.
Yeah. So.
Because she asked me, I was like, I don't know. That's
No, I.
all right.
Go team.
Blue all over your hands.
Okay. Yeah.